Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Purposeful Conversations with Emmy here in the Pame Code Facebook community. I hope you're doing well today. And our very special guest is kind of a superwoman. And I'm really interested to hear her thoughts about how she's juggling work and her business and family life. But on top of that, Heather, our guest today, is also a parent of a special needs child, so there's an extra layer of support that she needs to give for her family. So let's all introduce today the co-host of the Bitches Be Brave podcast, Heather Hobbs. Hi, Heather.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. This is so exciting. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And, in our community, we talk a lot about resilience. We talk about mindset and all of these things that we need to overcome struggles and pursue our purpose in life. But in your case, you do have several layers, and you do need
Yeah.
a lot of tenacity and resilience in your life. So for those of for our viewers who don't know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from and what you are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in California, and I've actually originally from Michigan. And my husband's family also is all from Michigan. So we moved out to California about 23 years ago. And all of our extended family still lives in Michigan. So we live very far away from family, which is, as I think as we start to talk about our story, I think also a factor of, not really having that support from family. But live in California, and I am it's still in a corporate position now, and I'm also the breadwinner in my family. I have two boys that are 13 and 15. And my 15-year-old is on the autism spectrum, so what used to be called Asperger's. He is very functional, highly functional, but definitely a challenge. And then a very busy 13-year-old as well. And so about a year ago, my co-host and I, who's also my best friend, had just felt so passionate that we wanted to really do something that felt purposeful and following our passions in our life. In my background, I have a background in dietetics. I was a nutritionist, and I studied functional diagnostic nutrition. And I wanted to really take the 20 years as a corporate executive that I have in my corporate job, but also on that health and fitness and nutrition background, and really merge the two. And so that was where our podcast was born. And
Awesome.
it's kind of where I'm at today.
Yes, yes, and that's actually what attracted me to you as well. You have this amazing podcast, mainly for working on, but it's actually really juggling a lot of
Hmm.
things in our lives as career working moms. And in your case, it's really it embodies what we stand for in the Pami Code Facebook community. It's living with purpose, and you're actually living your life with your purpose. And if I can just ask you that question, what is your purpose in life, Heather?
That's a deep question. For me, my purpose in life is to be doing what I feel is most that I'm most passionate about, right? And that is obviously that is my family, but I think something that we talk about is, you know, you have all these titles and roles. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a colleague, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, but you're still truly myself, right? And in my passion is helping people live their happiest and healthiest lives. I think we have one body on this earth, and that it's how can we live and feel the healthiest and the best that we can and be our best selves. And so that's something I just truly feel passionate about, and I think it gets lost in so much of today's society, because there's so much, right? We're so busy, and we're going and we're being pulled, and we're not always very present. And so if I could help other people to find that place, that is truly what I'm passionate about.
That's wonderful. And just having that clarity, because yes, for us working moms, we wear so many hats, and it can get a bit cluttered, it can get messy. But when you have that clarity and that deep sense of purpose, it actually makes it more manageable for us. But in your case, yes, with parenting a special needs child while being a working mom, what are the common challenges that you experience in this particular role?
So it is never easy, and I think that's also, one of going back to wanting to really put a voice to just so much. I think that women and just parents and families in general really struggle and go through when you have a special needs child. And I am blessed because I know that there's a lot of families that have even more challenges than what we have, with my particular son. But as you and I had started that, it's 7:30 in the morning here, and that is really one of the, I have to book things that I need quiet and uninterrupted time, usually early in the morning. Some of the challenges are, especially now, right, where everyone is home. We're all at a stay at home in place with everything that's going on. And with my particular son, there's a lot of unpredictability and spontaneity, right? So if he wants something, and I'm on conference calls a lot of the day, it's hard to trust that he's not going to come pounding on the door, or just the independence. I think there's a lot that they still need a lot of guidance on, and that can be very challenging when you're trying to juggle working from home at the same time.
Right. So, how do you manage that? Because I can see obviously you're managing your time well, and you're working around that. Is that one of the strategies that you use to manage this?
There's a lot, and I think it never feels like you really have things handled. I'll tell you that. But I think that the number one thing is, I mentioned earlier that we don't have the extended family support, and that can be really tough as well. So it falls on my husband and I, and it puts a strain a lot of times on a marriage when you have a child with needs. But I think if you can find a way to work with your partner and juggle, and so in my situation, it's I do a lot of my work on East Coast time. And so with my husband, I say, just please give me the morning, make sure you can kind of structure the kids. And I will try to like free up my afternoon as much as I can to allow him to do the work that he needs to do. I think for my son, like this morning, one of the facts, the tricks that I have to do is give him structure. And so I will either like put a note under his door or even text message him and say, this is what I want you to do. When you wake up, I want you to, take a shower, wash your face, feed your animals, and just being really specific about what I want him to do in what order. And I think structure is key when you're trying to have some balance at home with these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And now because you are homeschooling essentially,
Yeah,
everybody's at home. You are at home. Your husband's at home. You have two kids, did you say?
I
Um,
do.
I only
Yeah.
have one. It's like but
Yeah.
well, no, not really. I have to be fair. They've been very well behaved, both
Yeah.
of them. Like right now it's like 3:30 in the afternoon here in the UK. My husband is in the kitchen and my son is doing his homework. So I think you are right, when it comes to having structure, and particularly for children with special needs, someone who is in the autism spectrum, the structure and having things organized, I think is really important. And you have that partnership,
Hmm.
having a supportive husband, especially if your extended family is away. For me and my husband, I could totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I'm from the Philippines, so my parents are in the Philippines. My sister is in Saudi Arabia. My brother is in LA, and my in-laws are in Greece. So we are all over the place. It's just me and my husband here. So having that partnership, our kid is wonderful. He's just, yeah, he's 4 years old, and
Oh.
he's learning, he's growing, and wonderful. But it's really nice to have a supportive partner who doesn't have insecurities, when it
Hmm.
comes to having the wife being the breadwinner, because in our family I'm also the breadwinner. So somewhat the woman bringing in the money, not having that insecurity and just supporting is actually really quite important. What do you say about that?
Yeah, it's funny because I come from a very traditional Midwest family where my dad worked, my mom stayed home, my mom made breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and did all of the kid and the household chores. And um, I think we start to define that is what a mother or a wife looks like. And so it's very difficult, I think, when, when we went into our relationship and our marriage, wasn't really thought that, okay, I'm going to pursue my career and, this is how it's going to be. It just happened that my career kind of got to a place that when we had kids financially, it just made more sense for me to continue going and for him to kind of take a different type of position that allowed him to be home. But it took a lot because there's expectations, there's some resentment, some regret. You work so hard, you get your money. I mean, we just had this conversation last week. He's like, I got a bonus, and he said, well, wait, we need to wait and see what our tax return is going to be. We need to see what this and this. And I'm like, you just get angry. Like, it's my bonus. But I think you have to look at the grass is always greener, and it's so easy to look at other people's lives, right, and think that everything looks perfect. And
Mm.
the fact is, I think you need to, I mean, you said the same thing. You have this amazing husband. My husband is truly an amazing person. He's much more patient than I am, and he is really involved with my kids and is able to stay on top of their schoolwork. And that's what's really, really important, is I think, is to find the benefits that each of you bring to a relationship and how can you leverage that. And that's, that is imperative to have especially when you have some kids at home, but special needs kids with challenges. You've got to try to balance it as much as you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a partnership. It's not a competition. You entered this relationship, you have a family, and you work as a unit. And I think it's really important. I've seen some women who are trying to build businesses online, for example, and they have a lot of pressure from their partners, especially when you are starting, you're not making a lot at the start, you're building your business. And I've seen some women having to give up, building their businesses because there's a lot of pressure from the
Yeah.
husband. Like, if it's not going to work, then just stop it and just focus on what you have to do at home. So what what conversations must happen to help those women who want to start their business, and but also still manage family life and your relationship and so on?
Yeah. It's tough because, as we all know, I think when you have a family, you're choosing to somewhat sacrifice, right? You're reprioritizing. So I hate to use the word sacrifice, but I think you're reprioritizing where things fall. And I know for me, I have that passion in me where I've had so many different business plans over my life. I am a dreamer. I always want to create. I mean, but I think you have to sit there and go, okay, what's realistic? So what can I do right now? How can I carve out any amount of time to work on something that makes me feel that I'm giving passion and purpose to my life, while not letting the things that I need to do fall? Meaning, my career helps pay for our home and our life. Um, I want to be present as a wife and as a mother. So those are important. But I also want to feel like I'm doing something to kind of leave a legacy in this world besides, just my presence and my children. And so um, that was for me, just saying, okay, if I can carve out just a few hours, once or twice a week, to work on something that makes me feel that I'm moving forward, you start to find out you have the time. You don't think you do, but
Mm.
when you love what you're doing and you passionate, you'll set that alarm clock for an hour earlier, or you'll stay up an hour later. You'll start to squeeze in time,
You'll
and it
find the
feels good.
time. Yeah, if
Yeah.
when people say I don't have the time, well, the truth is we have the same 24 hours in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
We all have the same amount of time, but it's really you prioritizing how you use your time. You choose what you do with your time, and if you want to do something, then you'll just have to find, the time that you could maybe spend less time watching TV, for example, or wake up
Yeah.
a little bit in the morning. If I can just share, when I was working full time at the university, I used to be a university lecturer. I was
Mm,
also starting to set up my business. I was planning my exit strategy, and I also
yeah.
just gave birth. So I have a toddler. I have a full time job that feels like six full time jobs, and I was
Yeah.
starting a business. So for me, you might think that. no, I haven't got the time. How am I going to build my business? But what I did is I just wake up at 6 in the morning. From 6 till 8 in the morning, that's my time to write my books. I
Mm-hmm.
started my business by writing my books. That's my protected time. No one can touch that. My son is still sleeping because
Yeah.
he sleeps
Yeah.
until 8. So that's my protected time, 6 till 8 in the morning, to work on my business. After that, we get to work, we play after that, and that's it. But it's just a matter of carving out the time and dedicating that time for your business, for yourself, for your family, for your work, what have you. But you need to find it. You need to find it in your calendar. I know that there are some women who do feel guilty
Mm-hmm.
about pursuing their passion because they feel as if they're being bad mothers, and being selfish for pursuing something that they love, because they're taking time out from looking after their kids, or from the kitchen, or what have you.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Guilt will eat us alive, and I think there's I would beg to differ that there's a woman out there that doesn't feel some guilt, and I think I definitely am guilty of feeling guilty all the time. I think you feel guilty when you're at work that you're not with your family. You feel guilty when you're with your family and not working, and there's guilt about all of that. But I think what we have to do is just sit there and say, how can I just feel present? One of the things that my co-host Beverly and I say a lot on our podcast is that this whole facade of work-life balance doesn't really exist. The word
Mm,
balance is kind of something that you aspire that I think isn't really truly achievable. Life is more of a rhythm, right? So there are times when family is going to need you. Right now, we're all at home and, trying to make sure that the kids are getting the schoolwork done, and that we're able to all of that. You have to turn your focus, so I think, where it's really needed, and just let yourself be present there. So, and I think just to communicate that. So with my
mm,
kids, there's been weeks where I'm like, hey guys, the next couple of weeks work is really, I have a lot of travel coming up. We really need to work on how can we better structure ourselves. How can I make sure you guys call me, because I have boys, they don't like to call and talk to me. But it's communicating for the seasons in your life that you're in, and I think that helps to let that guilt go. If okay, this is the time I need to focus on work, but next week it's going to be family, more
mm.
importantly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually really helpful. So it's finding that structure, allocating dedicated time for family, for work, and being clear,
Yeah.
having everybody on board and say, oh, this is what's happening. I hope to get your support, and this chunk is for work, this chunk is for family, and
Yeah.
we'll just get on with it. So you're actually being present at that moment because that's the allocated time for it. When you finish that, then you have the allocated time for what you need to
Yeah.
do next. So that was really helpful, Heather. So if there's anything that you would like to impart, like parting words, for all the other working moms watching right now, or maybe not even moms, even
Mm-hmm.
fathers who are working, and they might have children with special needs, or just needing that resilience, to overcome whatever challenges they might have as parents. What do you have to say to them?
I just want to say, reach out there because you're not alone. And I think so many times we feel that everything we're juggling is alone. And I think it's, especially when you have a special needs child, it just really can be difficult. And it's not something we always feel comfortable talking to our employers or even our friends or family about necessarily. There's a lot of challenges and struggles that I think are there. And so to reach out, to know that there's great network of women. I think what you're doing here on your show, and just a lot of focusing on the positivity. But the one thing I would really stress that is important to me is making time for yourself. And, self-care was something we didn't really talk about, but in all the many things that we have to do all day long, I think finding that time for you personally to get out for a walk, or to just take a bath, or to do a meditation, or whatever truly can bring you some peace and some joy for a short period of time is super important. You have to put yourself at the top so that you have the energy to give to other people in your life that matters.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Heather. So, if people want to find you, your podcast, or in how they can find you and connect with you.
Yeah, so we can be, our podcast is called Bitches Be Brave, and we are on all the platforms out there. We're also on Instagram for Bitches Be Brave. And if you want to email us, it's babesbebrave@gmail.com. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Thank you
Thank
for
you very
having me.
much, Heather. And to those of you who are watching, I hope that you found this conversation helpful. If you are experiencing some challenges in your role as a parent, as a working parent, and need some source of inspiration, come back to this conversation, and you'll find that you're not the only one who feels this
Yeah.
way sometimes. It's a matter of finding a bit of structure, allocating dedicated time to all the roles that you might have. We do feel guilty even if we try not to. It's normal to feel that way. Acknowledge that, and find a way to carve out the time for all those specific tasks. Get your family on board. Make them feel part of your dreams as well, because they are, you are a family unit, and you can actually go through it together. So that's it. Thank you again, Heather. Thanks
Yeah.
everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch up again next time for another purposeful conversations with Emmy here in the Pami Code Facebook group. Until then, take care and bye for now. Bye.
Bye.